Hi everyone, Kenny from the Basic Brit. Putting out a new video today discussing what a lot of people have discussed at length, but just to reiterate to everyone, the affordability of basic fantasy role-playing game. As everyone knows who's been introduced to it so far, it's completely free. All the PDFs are online on basicfantasy.org. But if you're like me, you like to have the physical hard copy in your hands to reference, to read. One of the big draws about RPGs and tabletop role-playing games is a lot of us like reading the physical book, and that's where we get a lot of the enjoyment from. So I'm just going to take you through my collection basically, which is, I think as it stands at the minute, probably everything but one book, and we can come on to that later. But this was the first book I got, the third edition paperback. It's in the fourth edition now. That's had some grammatical changes, I think, to a few things. A little bit of content added, but third edition's perfectly serviceable for what I use it for. So that's what I've kept. I've got enough to keep me going for a lifetime of gaming. Probably don't need to buy anymore, but like you all know and I know, part of this hobby is collecting these things and having that physical book in your hands and reading it, which is just a nice thing to have. It's a nice thing to have on the shelf, under your bed, wherever you store it. I'm going to swap over to the other camera and just take you through all the books I've got and give you just a small basic rundown on how much they cost, how much I've got from them, and just to showcase the absolute brilliance that is basic fantasy. Okay, the first things first is the core rules. So if you just wanted to get into basic fantasy without buying anything else, without downloading anything else, this is your complete rule set here. It's a player's handbook, monster manual and dungeon master's guide all rolled into one. So just a quick heads up, this retails on Amazon print on demand for I think £6.50 at the minute, something like that. Very affordable. The hardback version is about £11. Not sure what that is in dollars, I'm sure you can work it out, but like I say, Wizard of the Coast book is going for like £40-50. There's no question really that this is a lot more bang for your buck. So it's got your classic introduction for new players, straight into the PCs and straight into how to create a play character. I'll do a full review of the core rules, so I'll not go through everything in depth at the minute. I just wanted to show you my collection this time around, but as you can see, you can get started on notebook paper. Your four main classes, races, and your four main classes as well, being cleric, fighter, magic user and thief. Pretty comprehensive list of equipment, but I'll introduce another book shortly that goes way more in depth for more options. And here we've got the spells, really good amount of spells to get you started, and there's so much more up on the website, so much more supplemental stuff. And what I like about this book is they're laid out in alphabetical order. I find that a lot easier to reference on the fly than having it by spell level. I don't know, maybe it's just the way my brain works. Some people prefer it the other way, but I definitely prefer it like this, starting with A, ending with Z. A bit of a jump for some people. Some people prefer just a very, very small rules-like box. Some of these spells are quite rules-like, some of them have got a bit of text and can take a bit of time at the table to read if someone's unsure on the rulings, but I like this format for the spells. I'm one of those people that I like there to be a certain amount of rules in place for my games, so it's a bit easier. There's not as much pressure on me, the DM, to come up with things on the fly all the time. I like having some hard and fast rules in there. Yeah, that's the end of the spells. Then it's into a lot of the important running the game stuff. So important for both the DM and the players. You've got your time and scale being encumbered, the different lords for the different races, which I think is definitely a big part of this game that I like. Halflings should not be able to carry as much as the other races, in my opinion. It just makes sense that they can only carry a little bit of a lighter load. Moving on then, we come to wilderness travel and retainers. Now, if you're familiar with the old school gaming, retainers, mercenaries, torchbearers, people to haul your loot from the dungeon back to town, very, very important part of the game. It gives you just enough information here, I think, to go off. It's not completely comprehensive, but there's other supplemental material that can expand on a lot of this. And there you go, couple of pages just on your retainers and stuff like that. Character advancement. Now, I have found, rules as written, character advancement in the game is very slow. I don't use gold for XP. A lot of my players have come from 5th edition D&D. They're used to killing monsters and stuff like that. Now, how I've laid it out in my home rules, I can go into that in more depth in another video. But I supplement the XP with bonus experience for completing certain tasks, for doing heroic deeds, stuff to just boost the experience gained. And I don't reward experience just for killing monsters. If they can find an ingenious way around an obstacle, a trap, a room full of monsters, I'll also award XP for that. That being said, I think we're on to session 7 or 8 and they're still level 1. So yeah, experience gain has been slow so far in my game, but I like it that way. And then we're into the encounter section. Just more rules on stuff that always gets asked at the table. If I'm charging, what can I do? Climbing, diving, the usual stuff that you get in a rule book. Missiles that miss has come up quite a few times in my games. My players have been unlucky sometimes. Shot each other in the back, which has been interesting. Morale as well, which was a bit of a jump for me coming from 5th edition, getting my head back into these monsters sometimes want to run away. You've got the cleric turning table down here. Some people take umbrage with it being this far in the book, but it does explain that the DM traditionally would roll on this to see if things are turned. We play on roll 20, so the characters do a lot of their own rolling, same for thief skills and stuff like that, but I don't mind it being where it is. Energy drain, classic OSR. I can't wait to shock some of my players with that. Like I said, this is a monster manual as well. You have a lot of classic giant versions of things, a lot of classic monsters in here, but there are more books that I'll introduce in a second that bring some things that are less than classic, some things that I've not come across before, and it's quite interesting to see some of the artwork. It's one of the gripes people have got with basic fantasy, I think, is some of the artwork's a bit rudimentary. I mean, for me, you're getting what you pay for. Like, these people have put their content out there for absolutely free as part of a community to share it. I don't take any offence to some of the more crude artwork. I think it's quite charming in a lot of respects. I don't like all of it, but like stuff like that Chimera there, I think that's pretty good considering these people are putting it up there for free. You got all your classics here. It's quite a large section of the book, this part, which is good because effectively you're getting all this for free if you download it and print it off yourself. So, or just keep it on your computer as the PDF. And then it goes into treasure near the back, mainly for the Games Master, really. All your tables to roll your random treasure on. I do a lot of this on the fly when I'm not working out of a module. Magic items are massive part of old school gaming. It's not just about how powerful the player character is, it's how they can equip themselves. And then just an explanation there on magic items. Love that. I love this artwork here. Brilliant sketch. And then yeah, into your Game Master information. There's not going to be anything new that really shocks anyone. All useful stuff. I've definitely used a lot of the optional stuff that Chris Gonneman, the creator, especially Death and Dying. It's been interesting to see how severe going to 0 hit points is in this game. Like I say, coming from my main background being 4th edition and then 5th edition D&D, and that's pretty much it. Small section. There's not a whole lot to guide a new dungeon master in here, but I think if you're playing this sort of game, it's easy and simple enough to figure out. Not saying it's the same for everyone, but I've found it, if you're coming from a more objectively complicated game like 5th edition, you should have no trouble running the game with this. So yeah, that is the core rules. They do have monster manuals as well. The Basic Fantasy Field Guides is your Monster Manual 1 and 2, if you want to call it that way. And it is just an extension of the Monster Manual that you've got in the core rules. I really like this book. I'm going to end up buying the Field Guide 2 as well, which is out on Amazon now for, I think this was maybe £4 or £5 English pounds. Same again for the Field Guide 2. I'm half tempted to get it in hardback even, because these are just a lovely book to read and get inspiration for what you're going to put into your campaign. Like I say, the things start to get a little bit more exotic now, like a Giralon, 4-armed ape there, and some classic monsters that don't show up all the time in games, like the Barghest. I know the Barghest from the first Witcher game. Stuff like that I'd love to start including. As you can see, yeah, some of the artwork, I mean, I think these people who are putting this up are putting it up for free. I think genuinely that is enough to get my imagination stirring. But yeah, so pretty simple flip through with this book. This is your Monster Manual Volume 2. Not much more to be said about it. Great little book. Now, if you want to expand yours and the player's options a bit more, you have got the Equipment Emporium, and this is quite a thin little book, as you can see. Not too thick. How many pages is it? We've got 48 pages of content. That artwork's great. I love that. And yeah, this, as the content says, is a really comprehensive book for everything from weapons, armour, and what my players have been getting into, a lot of the equipment, trying to find ingenious ways to help them through the dungeons in the Morgan's Fort campaign setting that I'm running. I'll just have a quick flick through, see if anything stands out of note. Well, so yeah, stuff like this, clothing, and maybe it might pass over your head. So a book like this you definitely do not need, but it takes that weight off your head as a DM. Sometimes I'll come up with a price for something on the fly, and some of my players will be like, wow, that seems a bit expensive. If I say we're using this book, then we go off the prices that are in the book, and it just helps create that sense of verisimilitude where the players know that I'm not just making stuff up on the spot, and these are the prices in the world. Yeah, like I said, it's so comprehensive. It's even got prices for all your barrels and crates, stuff like that. Yeah, animals. I know some of my players are interested in getting a war dog. I think it was hunting dog or something like that. We'll see how that pans out. So yeah, that's the Equipment Emporium. Really, really good little tome of things you can add into your game for your players mainly. Now, onto the meat of the collection. I'll kind of breeze through these. I'll spend a little bit more time on Morgan's Fort, as that's what I'm currently running at the minute. This is the revised edition. I believe it's been revised again since the version I bought, but this, again, perfectly serviceable for my needs. Great little starter adventure. Very deadly, we've started to find out, and that will come more apparent in the session recaps as we as I keep you updated on those. It gives you the campaign area of the Western Lands. I've started to build this out a bit more. Really looking forward to having my group explore all this area. I've made my own version of the map in Wonder Draft. I'll have to show it you sometime. And it comes with just enough information to get the DM going. With what's in the lands, you can swap it around as and when you need. And then it's got a really good section on the walled town of Morgan's Fort. The people who live here, what the players can expect to see, hear. It's got rumours here that I've been making great use of. And it's got a lot of good NPCs that so I made what's his name, Bailiff, the Bailiff Tomandy. I've made him kind of like a old grizzled Walter White. I found some great art online, stuck him in the campaign. He's a grumpy old bailiff, and the players have riffed off him a few times. And then it's straight into the meat of the adventure. So this is where my players currently are, Old Island Fortress. I don't want to spoil too much because I'm doing it in my session recaps at the minute, but we're having a really good time in this. Classic dungeon crawling with a little bit of wackiness sprinkled in to keep some of my more role-playing players a bit happy as well. But definitely the exploration aspect and dungeon crawling, the combat has been going quite well so far. Yeah, really good adventure. Now there's 3 adventure sites in this book. You've got the Old Island Fortress, you have the Nameless Dungeon. I've read through this section a number of times. By God, it is deadly. Be careful with the Nameless Dungeon. And it caps it off with, there is a 3rd adventure site near the back, yeah, the Cave of the Unknown, which I have customised quite a lot. Not really filled it out much yet, but starting to tie this into the wider campaign story that I'm trying to form. And that's Morgan's Fort, BF1. So after BF1 will come BF2. Fortress, Tomb and Tower. It's loosely connected to the first book. Morgan's Fort is, I think, about £3 or £4 on Amazon. Again, this £3 or £4. It's absolutely brilliant, the pricing on this, and I just love having these books to hold and read. I'm going to breeze through these next few sections just to show you how much is on offer, just the years of gaming fun you can have with this system. So, you cap it off, the BF saga, with Strongholds of Sorcery. As you can see, this one's for character levels 4 to 8. Apologies. Does it say Fortress, Tomb and Tower? I believe it does somewhere. Yeah, levels 2 to 8. So it's got that wide range of levels that you'd expect in the old school games, where characters are expected to die along the way and be replaced by less experienced folk. So yeah, that's the campaign I'm running at the minute. You have a couple of interesting books here. These are the contest series adventure collections. So we've got Castle by the Sea and the Dark Temple. What these were Chris Gonneman put out an adventure locale, I believe it was. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments. But people submitted an adventure for each of these locales, and the best ones got submitted and put in print. So that's what these are. So you can use these locales, choose which adventure you like, or just take the locale and create it for yourself. But there's loads of good ideas in those books. Now, probably one book that is very, very highly rated in the basic fantasy community is The Black Apple Brew. Now, I've seen this crop up on a lot of other YouTube channels. It's by Carl Hettinger. Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. It's a starter adventure with a more ethereal, fairy, classic English fantasy is the kind of mood I got from this book. I've read through it a number of times, really want to run it someday. Haven't run it yet, but it's a really intriguing starter adventure, and I think definitely my group of players would love to play in this, so that's on my list. We have Tales from the Laughing Dragon. Is set in an area that's more fleshed out on the Basic Fantasy website within the Dragonclaw setting. The Dragonclaw Barony, I believe it's called. Again, not played through this one yet. Really looking forward to giving it a try. Maybe hopefully get a few people together to start a fresh campaign in it, as again this is another starter adventure. And then we have some really, really good books that are like a recreation of classics. So these are 3 books by J.D. Neal, and they're kind of a homage to great modules of the past. We've got The Chaotic Caves, which is your starter adventure, a lot like Keep on the Borderlands. Obviously the Chaotic Caves, riffing off the Caves of Chaos in that adventure. Monkey Isle, which is, I believe, Isle of Dread from the old module. He's done everything in his own style, and there's a lot of additions now. I've read some of the older modules as well, played in a couple of them. There's enough different here, and at this price point to buy it as well and have these in your hands, I think these are a great deal. He's done really good work to make these his own, and he caps it off with Saga of the Giants, which is obviously referring back to Steading of the Hill Giant Chieftain, I believe it is, and those modules. Progressing up in levels, as you see, this is for levels 9 to 12. If my group ever gets up to these sorts of levels, then yeah, really look forward to playing these, but I read them from time to time to pull inspiration. And then finally, we've got a trio of books that arguably some of my favourites in the collection. The adventure anthologies, 1, 2 and 3. Fantastic resource. Adventures for every single level, enough to keep you going for years and years within these 3 books. Honestly, can't see myself playing much different at the minute, especially not dungeon mastering anyway. Loads of content to get you through multiple gaming sessions. And that is it. I mean, that whole collection basically cost me, I think, I'll just flick back to the main rulebook. So yeah, this whole collection cost me, I think it must have been only about £50, something like that. And I've got all these books forever now. Yeah, fill your boots and go out, support this content, play it, and just see how good it really is. That's my collection, guys. I hope you are a bit more informed about what Basic Fantasy has to offer. If you want to see more of this stuff in the future, if you want me to do a deep dive in any of those books, stuff like that is coming up in the future. I do want to review everything that Basic Fantasy has to offer and really exaltate my love for the game. I've found it quite recently compared to a lot of people. This game's been around since 2006. I didn't really start properly playing role-playing games until into the 2010s, is where I got back into it properly after a long hiatus. But finding this game for me has been fantastic. It's so simple, easy to grasp, easy to introduce new players to, so affordable. I can't stop saying it enough. I know everyone says it about it, but I mean, you really do have to keep reiterating to people like all this stuff is out there for free. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.